All right, good morning, everybody.
Hello.
Good afternoon, good evening. I have the pleasure here to introduce Dr. Lee, who will be taking the stage in a moment here, and I'll kind of hop back in a little later. But as we know, Dr. Lee is our CEO, founder of Computecoin here, and we have a very, very appealing subject matter to speak about today, and then a demo to show a little bit later. So Dr. Lee, if you want to take it off and say anything, I'm happy to go through this presentation and sit along here with you.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, perfect. Let me share my screen. First of all, welcome everyone to this webinar. I think this is one of the most milestone we achieved this year. So of course, we achieved lots of milestones in the past of this year, but this one is more important because this is our one of the very important product and people, which is ready for individual and the developers to use. I'm so excited to make official announcement about the release of this new product, the Decentralized Storage Service called DSS in short. I want to go through the whole product, and then Joseph will follow up with the demo, and then you will get a sense and a gut feeling that how the product works and how you can get benefits from using it. Let me share my screen with you guys. Okay, perfect. Can you see my screen?
I can see everything.
Okay, perfect. So Computecoin at the Web3 infrastructure. So this is what we are doing. Our vision is we want to build the Web3 infrastructure. The current problem for the whole industry is lots of Web3 applications. They're running on Web2 infrastructure, for example, Google Cloud or Ali Cloud and AWS. And there's a lot of performance limitations and lots of problems there. So that's the motivation for us to come up with this idea. We want to build the Web3 infrastructure. So in other words, what we want to do is we want to build a suite of decentralized cloud services with a focus on cost and privacy to power all purpose of applications. So if you look at our focus, we focus on two things, cost and privacy. Because so far, if you look at the Web2 infrastructure, such as AWS or Google Cloud, there's lots of drawbacks, but the top two is the cost and the privacy. For example, we have no privacy because all our data is stored in centralized server, and the Google and the AWS, they can see whatever they want from our data. Our data is so transparent to all of them. And the second is the cost. If you are running a startup, you are running a company, and you will have the same feeling as I do, is you every month when you got a bill from AWS or Google Cloud, you'll say, oh, this is a too big bill, but you have no alternative. You have to pay the bill, although you are complaining every day about the big bill every month. So that's what where our focus, and we want to build such a next generation cloud infrastructure to reduce the cost, to give you the 100% privacy. And so if you want to build infrastructure like this, so what will be the system architecture, and how, in other words, how can we build such a big Web3 infrastructure? So overall, this is a very high level picture about what we are building, and this is going to give you a big picture about what we are doing and what's the progress so far. If you want to build the infrastructure to support all kinds of purpose applications, we need 4 modules. The first is blockchain module, which is connecting other modules, and the storage module, the compute module, and the network module. And our storage module is comparable to Amazon S3. The product name is Oortech Decentralized Storage Service. In short, we call it DSS, and which we're gonna have the product ready today. And all of you guys are welcome to try it out. And the second module is a compute module, which is comparable to Amazon EC2. And the product is named Oortech Decentralized Compute Service. In short, we call it DCS. And the third module is network module, which is comparable to Amazon CloudFront. So the product name is Oortech Decentralized Edge Network, and in short, we call it DEN or DEN. So then on top of that, we have a blockchain layer, which is a layer 1 public chain, because everything down there is decentralized. Of course, blockchain is very important technology we have to use to connect all this decentralized infrastructure and make it unified and to support all kinds of applications up there. So you see that we support Web 2 and Web 3 applications. Not only Web 3, it's also Web 2. We support Web 2 as well. And with these 4 modules in mind, what do we have done so far? So we have successfully completed the blockchain module, which is our layer 1 public chain, and now it's in the mainnet beta testing phase. And so far, we got a bunch of developers. They are trying to build and test our blockchain. And so far, everything is going well, no bug reported. If everything goes well like this, we're going to open source the code very soon, and we launch the mainnet very soon. And the second module we have done is the storage, which is DSS. We're going to launch today. The compute and network is on the roadmap, and we hope by 2023, the end of 2023, we're going to complete all the 4 modules, and then our Web3 infrastructure is ready for everyone, for all kinds of applications. Well, so now let's go to the main topic of today, the Oortech Decentralized Storage Service. I'm so proud of what we are building here, and thanks to all the tech team, research team. Without them, their hard work, their effort, we cannot achieve this milestone. So our DSS product is trying to store your data in complete decentralization and privacy without knowing a thing about Web3. So there can be tons of use cases built on DSS. You know that, as I said, our DSS is comparable to Amazon S3. If you look at Amazon, go to Amazon's homepage, you'll see that there's all kinds of use cases there. They list some of them, right? Including Netflix, including some other big enterprise, they're using Amazon S3. But of course, they need to pay the big bill of that. And also their data is transparent to Amazon as well. And now our use cases, focusing on 4 verticals. One is media sharing, right? And online storage, and NFT storage, and data backup. For example, NFT storage, this definitely is a Web3 application, right? And also for media sharing or online storage, for example, like online storage means like Google Drive or Dropbox. So we are trying to build our own developer ecosystem and ask our developers to rebuild Gmail, for example, Dropbox, right, and Google Drive on DSS. So the Web3 version of Dropbox or Google Drive. And of course, as our in-house engineering team is building some cool applications as well for data backup and something like that. So there's a tons of use cases. And from today, you will see that there's going to be lots of exciting Web3 applications running and built on DSS. So how DSS works? So this is the flow chart to show you that how our product works. Okay. If you look at, let me use the laser pointer. Okay. So if you look at the left-hand side, you have different kinds of data. So you can move any amount of data to Oortech DSS at any time, anywhere. This data include blockchain data, applications data, and NFT metadata, and video and images, and some sensitive data from enterprise, some organizations. And so far, we have been in talks with quite a few enterprise customers. They have different kinds of data, and they, hopefully in the coming month, you will see a big amount of data comes in DSS. And once this data are transferred or moved to DSS, so we're gonna do quite a few things. First, the individual or the developers, they need to create a bucket. So we borrow the name from Amazon S3. Just Amazon S3, you know that if they use bucket, right? So we create a bucket. And the second is we specify the decentralized storage network. So we have integrated Filecoin, Sia, Crust, Storage, and a few others in the pipeline. So as a user, you can choose whatever the decentralized network you want, all in one place. You can choose Crust, for example. You can choose Storage for your data file. And in our platform, we're going to give you all the pros and the cons about each decentralized network. And later on, we're going to have analysis tools and some monitors to give you the real-time data and status about different decentralized storage network, and all in one place. And then you know that if I want to do video streaming, for example, I know that which decentralized storage network I should choose. Okay, you choose your network, and then you set access controls for, if you are a developer, of course, you may need this, and then you choose privacy settings. So you want, let's say this file, particular file, I want to make it private, or I want to make it public. Okay, and once you have data stored in DSS, you can do lots of things, use Oortech and third-party services to process your data for different purposes. For example, data analysis, content distribution, or NFT marketplace, and data backup and archive. Okay, so we already have a bunch of developers that are working on these things, and our Oortech other services like a compute service, network service will be highly useful for example, content distribution or data analysis. So that's what we mean. It's a suite of cloud services, decentralized cloud services we provide. Okay, so our clients. So before, in parallel to the development of DSS product, we have been talking with quite a few clients. Now we have 20 plus enterprise clients in the pipeline. So they are ready to onboard, store their data using DSS. And some of them are big names. Here I just listed 2 of them. We're still in talks with them, and hopefully we can provide a service to them very shortly. For example, DAO, right? So DAO, we are trying to push that, asking DAO to integrate DSS and our other services as well as a pre-installed option to in their laptops and PCs for DAO to distinguish themselves from other competitors. So DAO in total sold 23, almost 24 million laptops and PCs in Q1 this year. And another is FinStreet. So FinStreet is India's first crypto education platform with 4.5 million community members and almost 1,000 students. And Oortech going to provide the DSS service to FinStreet community members and in India, for example. And we have other agencies from Australia, from African countries as well. And hopefully we can provide a DSS service for all of them in the near future. Okay, so that's all about my presentation. And now I hand it over back to Joseph. And Joseph gonna show you the demo from both individual perspective and developer perspective. Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining all that, Dr. Lee. And thank you for the kind intro here. So I'll hop right into it, and I'll kind of just bounce around, and there's a couple of things I'll have to highlight, but the first use case I'll show here is more of a consumer end. And this could be anyone who wants to use a very pretty front-end interface to interact with these decentralized storage solutions. So right now, the 2 solutions that we have is Crust Network and Storage Network, and that's storage with a J for anybody who's unfamiliar with it. And after you sign up for the beta, you'll see a pretty little login interface here. So it uses your traditional email and password for a login. And what I'm going to do here is just a login. So once we're in, you can see I've already been testing around and I already have 4 buckets created. There's actually files stored within these buckets, but for simple sake, I'm going to go and create a new test bucket, and we could actually go ahead and just upload a file that's on my desktop, and I can show you the usability here. So when you're in this Oortech DSS dashboard, you have the ability or option to create a bucket through the GUI. You could choose your actual storage provider. In this case, I'd rather choose storage network. Let's just say I have a little bit more of a private file. I don't want it stored on IPFS. I'd rather it be stored more in a private way. So I'll choose storage network. Then I could name the bucket whichever I wish to name it. When you name a bucket using S3, there is no spaces. There is no capital letters, so it has to be lowercase. And if you are to put sort of a space, you have to do a hyphen and then further characters after that. So in this case, we'll do a test 1 bucket because I think I already have a test bucket. And we have some other options here that we could add, but just for simple demo sake, I'm just going to go over creating this bucket. So if it's successful, it gives you a little success message, which is nice. And we can see here's our bucket down here. So if I go into this bucket, we could see that there is nothing here. I could go ahead and create a file here if I want. In this case, I just want to upload some files. So I have a file that's already on my desktop here. It's just a test document. And we're going to go ahead and upload that. So we'll go to test, and it just has a bunch of words inside of it, and we'll upload, which was pretty quick. And once it's uploaded, we could close. We are now back into the bucket where we could see all of our objects, and we could now see the further details within this bucket. So if we go on to see details on storage, as this starts to propagate and actually store, it will start to upload this map over here. So if we go into a previous bucket that I already have, that I've already stored a file, for example, this simple video here, we could see the amount of storage nodes that are actually storing this file. So I could go ahead and just play this little GIF here, and it's a cute little cat. And it's stored on this, distributed network here, which is pretty cool. Now I could go ahead and share this link with anybody, and they could download it if they wish to. And again, we could do the same thing with Crust. So if I go to Crust here, I have a JPEG that I uploaded previously, and we could see the details using the IPFS network, and it shows us everything. And we even have the details as far as replicas, and how long my storage is guaranteed. So this is the front end facing GUI, which is simple to use for a consumer end. It's not exactly a Dropbox like experience, but as it starts to be improved, as applications get built on top, utilizing these underlying services, we could have a more seamless interface that maybe doesn't use a bucket. Instead, it's just remembered as files and folders similar to Dropbox. So as applications continue to be built, we're obviously going to want a SDK or API that developers could interact with. In this case, we have access keys. The most important part is we use AWS CLI, so it is compatible with AWS CLI. If you want to interact with the API, you are going to have to install the AWS CLI on whatever computer you are using. So in this case, I'm using a Mac OS, and I mean, here's the link if you want to copy it. But this is how you install AWS CLI on your computer. If you do not have AWS CLI, you could simply check by doing AWS version. And if nothing pops up, then you don't have it. If it just errors out, you should install AWS CLI. So what you go ahead and do is create an access key. And when you create an access key, you'll get the access key ID, and then you get the secret access key ID. So our documentation is fairly simple. And when you click documentation on the left here, it brings you to this nice little hub that explains everything you need to know. But if you go down to use AWS CLI, it will explain the two endpoint APIs we could use, which is obviously Crust or storage, how to configure it, what you need to configure it to, how to set your signatures, and how to actually go and create buckets and list buckets. So, I mean, following this guide is very, very simple. If you're already familiar with using S3, then you should be A-OK using it. If you're familiar using, kind of command line interfaces or terminals, you'll have no trouble understanding it. So I've already configured my AWS CLI to be set to this previous access key that I generated. So there's no reason to go over this here, but if you were to create a new access key, you just go to access keys. Again, I already have one that I just created, and you create it. It's going to first ask for your access key when you're configuring. Then it's going to ask for your secret access key. Then if you follow the documentation, you'll have to choose a region and an output format. After that, you'll run your AWS configure command to set your signature version. And then from there, we could go ahead and create different buckets, list buckets, and upload files. So for example's sake here, I am going to first list a bucket. I'll make this a little bigger. And we'll clear. So by running this command here, I'll be able to list all the buckets using my access key and the proper endpoint. And here we could see this new test1 bucket that I created is there. So because I'm using the storage endpoint, when I go to create a bucket, which I'll do with this next command here, it's actually going to create a storage bucket with the storage endpoint. So every single command has to start off with AWS --endpoint with the endpoint address, and then you use S3. MB in this case is make bucket, and then you have to enter these little details here, and then you have your bucket name. So we named this bucket test2 bucket. It executed the command make bucket test2 bucket successfully. So if I now list, this is what this S3 LS stands for, which is list, it'll actually show this bucket here, and we can see the time it was created. So 9:53, this is when I created test2 bucket. So also, if we go to buckets, after a refresh, we could see that my bucket is in the GUI or web interface. Now there is no files here. So in this next example, I'm going to show adding a file or copying a file or moving a file. And I should have it here. Perfect. So again, you have to start off with this AWS --endpoint. You have to configure which endpoint you're going to use here. You then have to say the S3 command, which in this case we're copying. I'm choosing my desktop directory on this computer here. I'm choosing the file, which is that test document that just has test within it. And then I'm choosing the bucket. Here I'm storing it to a different bucket, but in this case, I would like to store it to my test2 bucket. And when I click enter now, it says upload my desktop test RTF to my S3 test2 bucket test RTF. And if we refresh here, that file will be there. And there we go. So now I could do this as many times as I want with different files or from different directories. And again, I could do this on the Crust endpoint also. In this case, I am just showing the storage endpoint and, using the complete CLI so you could use it for any, developer needs in which you wish to develop applications on top and use our S3 or DSS service. So on that note, We will have videos being published. One video completely showcasing the GUI, creating a bucket, seeing file details, where it's stored and such things like that. But then we will have a developer video, which goes over all the documentation and really interacting with the AWS CLI if you have any questions there. So as far as that, I just wanted to do a basic demo of creating a bucket, copying a file up to a bucket, and we could also showcase removing a bucket, which is remove bucket, and I just have to change my name here. So now I'm going to remove this test2 bucket. Let's go back to buckets here. And I'll click enter. It wants me to delete the file first, so hold on here. Delete all files in a bucket. So we are going to S3, we'll copy this. And then we need to choose our bucket, S2-bucket. And that got rid of all of our files within our test2 bucket now. Now we see we have nothing. I can now remove the bucket. And if I refresh here, my test2 bucket is now gone. So I hope this little demo shows you that it's definitely fun to use the command line interface over the GUI. And I hope whomever wishes to develop, if you have any questions, feel free to ask away. Discord will be a good way to ask any questions. And as those videos come out, you know, any questions could be answered in that manner. So I hope you enjoyed this quick demo. We are going to open up the floor for some questions. But first, I'm going to ask Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, is there anything you wish to add? Any further things?
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. Let me open the camera. Yeah, thank you for showing us the demo. Let me share a screen. I have a couple of things I want to share with everyone here. Give me 1 second. So now you can see that Joseph just showed everyone our product is ready to use. And now today, we're going to officially launch this product to everyone. And now if you look at my screen, this is our project homepage. And how can you join us for this product DSS? I'm going to show you how you can join us. So this is our homepage. If you go to the solutions, you'll see object storage, which is our DSS. And now you're on the page of Oortech DSS Decentralized Storage Solutions. And this is the web page for DSS product. Okay. And basically you can join the beta. So, and you just type in your name and email address. And then later today, we're gonna start we already received a lot of interest from the potential users. And thank you everyone again. And today, later today, we're gonna send an email with the link to the whitelist participants. And then you just need to follow, just stay tuned on your email. And once you receive email from us, and you can just follow the link and join our product and try it out. So if you're not doing it yet, so you can come to this page and submit your name and email address, and we will add you to the whitelist. And of course, I mean, we're gonna have 2 to 3 weeks for the beta user testing. And during this period, if you have any questions or any good comments or suggestions, just feel free to send it back to us. We're gonna have a link to collect all the feedbacks from the users. And if your suggestions or comments are really helpful and add lots of values to the product, of course we're gonna have a incentive to and a reward for the good suggestions and the comments, basically. Okay, so that's what I want to share with everyone here, and also because we are on this website, I want to show you another product which we already launched, which is our blockchain product. We call it the DApp development. So run the dApps decentralized both on-chain and off-chain, and this is ready as well. So, and you can start to build and get started, and to build your smart contract and your apps on our blockchain, and using the underlying decentralized storage service DSS. So that's what we mean. That run and deploy your apps decentralized both on-chain and off-chain. And this is the key differentiator from our blockchain, layer 1 blockchain with others. Like other layer 1 blockchain like Solana, Ethereum, they are just on-chain services, right? So for the off-chain, you need to go to Amazon, you need to go to Google Cloud to host your applications and even your NFT data storage, for example. And now we provide the suite of the both online, on-chain and off-chain services, and make everything decentralized, both on-chain and off-chain. So, and this is ready to build, and this is like what I said at the beginning of my presentation. And this is like, we are in the phase of a mainnet beta test right now. And if everything goes well, we're gonna open source the code very soon. And in the meanwhile, we're gonna launch in the mainnet very soon, officially. So welcome everyone to test them out and give us your good feedback, and we will improve our product day by day. So this is our goal. And also, if you can, our document here is ready for the DSS product. You can go through the documents as well for both developers and individual users. And any questions or any thing you want to ask to clarify in the documents, again, just let us know. And any of your inputs and feedbacks, we're highly appreciate that. So that's all I want to share with all of you, and we can have another 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A. Joseph, back to you.
Yeah, thank you for showing how to sign up for that. I should have started with that, not jumped right into
teamwork.
Teamwork. For adding that. Okay, cool. I don't think I have anything else to add on my end. Again, I didn't show kind of the functionality of deleting a bucket or emptying a bucket using the GUI. It is important to know, and I'll just show this here really quick too. I'm going to kick you off here, Dr. Lee. You could also, so we have I have a whole folder in here with some items within this STJ bucket. We could empty the bucket through the GUI, same thing that I did within the CLI. If I could spell here, apparently I can't spell today. Delete. And this will empty that bucket. So now there is no files within here, and then we could go ahead and delete that bucket by typing its name and delete, and that bucket is now removed. So I just wanted to showcase that the functionalities that are within the command line interface are also within the actual GUI. And again, you could mess around with that here. So it's up to you on which interface you wish to use or which interface you are more comfortable with. So on that note, we will open up the floor for some questions. In this case, I think we're starting off with a pretty good question here. So can you give a detailed comparison of DSS and S3? Why use DSS and not S3? So Dr. Lee, do you want to touch on some points, and then I could fill in whatever you might miss?
Yeah, sure. as I said in the very beginning of my presentation, right? So the S3, Amazon S3 is a centralized, it's a Web2 infrastructure, right? So there's a big issues there. For example, the first one is the privacy. You don't have any privacy. All your data there is transparent to Amazon, right? And also the cost. So these are the two issues we need to resolve using DSS. So DSS, as Joseph just showed, right? You, let's say the storage network, storage network, your files is stored in 80 nodes, 77 nodes, and is fully decentralized. So you are the only guy, only person who can access your file. No second person in the world can access your file, right? So this is a key differentiator from Amazon S3, and also the cost. The cost is, in average, the cost is at least 50 to 80% lower than Amazon S3. So this is a big cost cut because it's all thanks to the decentralization. So yeah, that's the two. That's why we want to use DSS rather than S3.
And I would like to point out that by default, using the storage network or an IPFS network, you have that built-in duplication and replication across many nodes. In the case for Storage A, it uses RAID Solomon, which, if you're not familiar with kind of RAID arrays and how different data bits can be broken across many hard drives. So if one hard drive fails, you could recover it on, let's say, the other 3 hard drives. Definitely a knowledge you would want to learn as you're interacting with these protocols. But I think what would be helpful is we definitely could get a side-by-side comparison that explains visually the differences, and that would help for sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, basically, I just add my 2 cents here. So so for our decentralized storage, if you get information from 1/3 of your nodes, let's say your file is stored in 80 nodes, right? And then if you can get 30 nodes, information from 30 nodes back, you're able to recover your file. So that's the robustness, basically, and all thanks to the coding theory. And another thing I want to add is, DSS is kind of an aggregator to integrate all the major decentralized storage network, including Storage A, Crust, Filecoin, and Asaya, and many others. And we are trying to build our own decentralized network as a storage network as well. So, and on top, but the key contribution is like on top of that, in terms of aggregation. So we add another layer of encryption and security, make sure that your file is always encrypted and 100% secure. So
I would
that's what we mean, the privacy.
That's also on the docs. I forgot where that was, but I wanted to show that. I should have showed that. Right here. So within our documents, we also go over not only our endpoints. I'm going to show this for visual keepsake, but we explain the further encryption that is applied right here. If I could highlight it. And the different kind of signatures that you could use. So the AWS version 4 signature has an HMAC and SHA-256 encryption, which is helpful. So use V4, and that additional encryption is definitely helpful when it comes to using any of these DSS products. So good question. And there's definitely an educational aspect to sitting down with clients or having consumers kind of understand the key differences. Most likely, if you're a consumer, you probably won't care. But as we have businesses that are having to worry about certain regulations and certain kind of data breaches, some businesses are starting to look over and say, hey, there is a power to distribution in this decentralization or utilizing this encrypted blockchain technology or cryptographic proofs, and they see the value add there. So yeah. We have another question on what role does the Computecoin technologies play in DSS? What technologies are actually being used? Dr. Lee?
Well, Yeah, first of all, I don't think we want to confuse people about the DSS and Computecoin. I mean, Computecoin is a project name and the DSS is the product. It's not two separate things. It's like Apple is the company, iPhone is the product. They're the same thing. So iPhone is designed and manufactured by Apple, right? So, and Computecoin is the project name, and of course DSS use lots of technologies, cutting edge technologies here, including encryption and decentralization and coding theory, all these type of things, and we are adding more and more cutting edge technologies to our product as well. For example, we can add more advanced coding theory, coding technologies to further improve the privacy and the security. For example, we can use fountain code and RDPC code and other coding stuff rather than like a Reed Solomon. Or on top of the Reed Solomon, we can use like a fountain code or something to make your content more secure and more decentralized. So that's a thing. And also in the meanwhile, you know, that the blockchain technology we already widely use to combine with Oortech DSS product to make sure that you know, to support Web3 applications. For example, if you want to build a NFT marketplace using DSS, you can come to our blockchain, the DApp development service, and build your deploy your smart contract, all this stuff, right? And then using the underlying DSS SDK or API for all the NFT metadata storage. So it's the end-to-end solution. So I hope I clarified the two names, Oortech DSS and Computecoin. Don't get confused about that. So it's about, one is about the product, another is about the project name. So and of course we are in the process of rebranding right now. Probably we're going to use another name rather than Computecoin in the coming months. So just a heads up.
This next question's there's two good questions that are next. This one is somebody who's from Nigeria, which is awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Talk about DDS, which is our development solution for our blockchain, and DSS, which is our decentralized storage solution. In this case, he or she is asking, what is the difference between DCS, our compute services, and DEN, which is our edge network? So there is some key distinct differences between a compute platform and an edge platform. Dr. Lee, if you want to take it off, and then I could fill in anything.
Yeah, so it's a different module, right? As I showed in the slides, the DSS is the storage module, right? And the DCS, decentralized compute service, is a compute module, and the DEN, the DAN, is the decentralized edge network. So we're gonna start to lay out our DAN, DEN very soon. Probably later this month or next month. So we're gonna deploy these edge nodes. You can think about that edge nodes all over the place around the world, and each edge node they have quite a few capabilities of like edge computing and the storage, and it can like CDN, content deliver network. So this is what we call the network, decentralized network, edge network. So coupled with the DAN, the DEN, our DSS and the DCS services will be powered up a lot. In terms of, for example, let me give you one example. For example, like video streaming, right? So we know that if you like watch the TikTok or YouTube, there's lots of CDN technologies involved. Otherwise, your video streaming experience will be really bad. Lots of latencies. And so that's our benefit from the DAN network. So we want to build this decentralized edge network, to support our storage service and the compute service. So
yeah, and I would like to just point out, in the actual, let's just say, game or application will be hosted on a compute platform, but an edge network is just a way for a participant or someone who wishes to interact with this application. It forms an edge compute or an edge network where it's almost like a proximity network where the user could interact more seamlessly and more quickly than pinging a node, let's say, that exists all the way in the US, and you are in Nigeria. There's a lot of routes in wires that packet has to travel through to get to the US. But when you deploy an edge network and have different points of presence across the globe, and you could kind of distribute that, the delivery of that file is much more quick and seamless. So that'll actually tail into our next question, but to just follow up, when do you intend to incorporate this project in Nigeria? The project is already working. You could interact with it. You could sign up for the beta. The nodes are all over. So, even if the closest node to you is in Dubai, that's still close enough to interact and have low latency. So if you have any further questions, definitely pop in Discord if you have any trouble kind of getting set up. But as far as specifically in Nigeria, it would be a matter of if you wish to run an edge node and participate within the network when these solutions are built and continuing to be added upon, or if you want to work with an underlying storage network such as cluster storage and have some nodes within your house or whatever operation you have going on there, you could participate in that way. So that's how you could incorporate the project within Nigeria. But yeah, the project is already distributed across the globe, so interacting with it is just a matter of logging into the web interface and familiarizing yourself with that. So as far as the DCS and DEN services, those are still in progress. Those aren't fully deployed yet, but you could work with the blockchain development in the decentralized storage solution. So that is that. And we'll roll into the next question of how about the latency of data persistence and retrieval of DSS versus S3. So, and Dr. Lee could fill in here. I'll just kind of put my little blurb in.
Yes, sir.
You are going to have a little bit of a higher latency when you're retrieving off of the IPFS network, especially wherever you are and wherever that gateway is. And the IPFS network works a little bit differently with kind of how the architecture is set up. However, using the object-oriented storage that Storj provides, again, that's ending with a J, the data retrieval and persistence is, if not similar to S3, but quicker than S3. I don't have the exact benchmarking, but it is fast, seamless, and you'll be able to understand interacting with it, how easy it is to use and how fast it is to use and how comparable it is to S3. So Dr. Lee, if you want to add in, you could touch on maybe.
I just want to chime in with another point is very good question, first of all. And our DEN product, actually the goal of DEN product is to improve the latency of the data transfer latency, basically, for IPFS network. As Joseph said, if you choose Storj, the latency is, the performance in terms of latency is even better than S3. But if you choose IPFS network, you may have some problem there. And that's the thing we want to resolve. So that's why we want to build our own edge network, the decentralized edge network then. We hope that this network will be ready by the middle of the next year. And and by then, after that, so you will see that even you use IPFS network, you will have exactly the same performance user experience as using S3. So that's our goal.
For sure. And I would like to point out, depending on what region you're in, or kind of if AWS's servers are having any backup or are having any issues, I've used S3 before. I've used Glacier services, and when you're dealing with large files, the latency there is some issues there too. regarding kind of actually getting a file onto the computer or downloading it. So it's just naturally occurring within this world. As far as benchmarking it side by side could be very difficult, because it depends on how much are you actually downloading, how much are you uploading, where are you located, is there any hardware that's actually being worked on in your area, and you can't kind of account for all of those variables. But in the case of, if you're going to use IPFS, you're going to have a little bit of a higher latency. If you're using the object-oriented storage that Storage A provides, you're going to have that lower latency and that quicker retrieval. That's built for more enterprise grade storage. So if you are a developer, I recommend you use their platform if you need quick retrieval for a game or an application. But if you're not worried about that and you prefer the further decentralization or distribution, you could for sure use IPFS if you want it to be public. I guess we'll make this our last question here. And what is the limit to how much storage space that our DSS can offer? And then we'll wrap things up from there.
Yeah, let me answer this question. So for the beta test, so we gave 5 gigabytes free for the user. I mean, for each network you're using. Let's say for now we support CRUS and the Storage A. Means that for both CRUS and the Storage A, you get 5 gigabytes for each of them. Yeah, so you can see, right? Yeah, right here. So on the screen. And then later on, once we pass the beta testing phase, and then you may get. So we're gonna have the pricing model. We're gonna have a free tier, and we're gonna have a subscription tier, and then but basically we can offer thousands of petabytes in total, but not all of them are free, of course. So the free tier of the pricing model is basically maybe like just 5 gigabytes or 10 gigabytes, and after that you need to subscribe for the monthly payment for. But overall, I mean, although you need to pay some for the storage service, but the price, as I said, is at least 50% or 80% lower than the centralized cloud service provider, such as Google Cloud or Amazon S3. So.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight that earlier question of the data, persistence and data retrievability. So this is a video that's stored on the Storage A network, and they use some interesting kind of technology when it comes to videoing and how it's stored in bit hopping. But we could see here.
Hey, CCN community. So in our previous video, I went over some of the basic details.
It's as quick.
Won't be initiated and started
YouTube, but it's stored in a decentralized.
We would go ahead and raise funds.
So they have some interesting technology that is in the works there as far as how they're doing that. You could dive further into their documentation. If you were to view this same video on the IPFS network, it would be a little bit more laggy. But again, this is why we want to deploy our edge solution to fix that and make it as seamless as the storage network. So I just wanted to showcase that. But I think we're all set here. And we're ready to finalize up. Dr. Lee, do you feel there's anything we need to add here or that we missed?
Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you again, everyone. And I see there's a bunch of other questions but due to the time limit, we may not have time to go through each of these questions in the box. But definitely you're highly welcome to leave your questions in our community channels like Discord or Telegram, and our people will more than happy to answer any questions you have.
For sure. I appreciate for any of you who did come to sit through the whole kind of webinar here. I appreciate you taking the time today. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone.